No, no, I didn't do my dance yet. Southern California though needs it.
Yeah, I know.
Wow, pretty bad down there. Okay, anyway, before we get started and before we have our speaker, we're going to talk about a little bit about what's going on in the marketplace today. So, what is going on in the marketplace today? You guys have been around. Come on. Nothing? No? Is the inventory growing? No? Why? Interest rate.
We had 90 houses in Fremont for sale. 60 of them were pending.
Okay?
That means there's only 30 left as of Monday.
As of Monday. And do you think the inventory is going to grow?
No.
Good. Why?
No, because people don't want to sell, there's no place for them to go.
Okay, so that's all doom and gloom.
No,
That's
it's not.
No, I'm talking about when you listen to it and you're brand new, this doom and gloom.
Yeah, but it's not.
But it's not. That's
Get a
correct.
listing, you
Thank you.
get paid.
That's right.
Work with the buyer, and you're going to get frustrated.
So what is Jerry, one of the things that agents don't do that should be doing?
Talking to people.
Talking to people. Isn't that interesting?
I came out of Kaiser this morning. So I'm walking out, this guy he's limping along with a cane, and he's got a 49er up there, and I said to him, who's gonna win? So I got into a conversation with him. 20 minutes later, we're buddies. I gave him my real estate card. I said, if I can ever be of help to you, let me know. He said, well, I've been thinking about selling my house.
There you go.
You've got to talk to people. It's a people business, it's not brick and mortar.
And for some people, it's very difficult. The basics. You know, that's so true. So, Kurt, you're here. My goodness.
I had to see you.
That is amazing.
Drove in special.
I'm glad you're here. Thank you. Kurt, what do you think's happening in the market? You've been around a long time.
What's happening? A lot of craziness right now. I think as soon as they make some adjustment, even the minor of things in the interest rate, I think we're going to see an explosion of buyers not realizing the payment isn't going to be that different, but just the motivation of change. I think we're ready for it. I think we're on the edge of just a great year, really. That any change in the interest rate, positive, I think we're going to get a ton of buyers. Yes, that'll reduce the inventory, then that might get the sellers off their keister and realize that they're going to be able to get the price they want, even with the interest rates being a little bloated still. But a lot of excitement out there right now, a ton.
Ton of buyers.
Oh, no question, a ton. And with that, then the sellers will get, we just need a little push. And I think that little bit of interest rate reduction, minor it will be, I think we'll start that avalanche.
You're right. Thank you. Anybody else have any input? Nobody? Interesting. What do you think, Felix?
It's been busy for me.
It has been.
I think the floodgate has opened.
Good.
Yeah.
To hear that. But the main thing is, especially with new agents and seasoned agents, of course, is that we don't tell people what we do. We just don't get in a conversation. And as I said, wearing your name badge, especially when you're out shopping, whatever you're doing, people will stop and ask you. You know, they just do. They want to know what the market's like.
How's the market?
How's the market? Number one question. How is the market? And never be negative. Always be positive. Okay? And I think it'll help. By the way, it happened to me not too long ago. I called an electrician I never knew. I did, by chance. I needed one. And I needed one in an emergency. The guy was fantastic. He came within an hour from my home. Took care of my problem. Was reasonable. We started chatting. And I may be getting a $2.5 million listing.
You don't know.
We don't know. We don't know. We're just, you know, but he told me that, hey, thank you for telling me. Thank you for giving me the information.
You gotta talk to people.
Exactly.
And let them know what you do.
Right, right.
Don't
That's
be-
the main key.
don't
And
be,
I think once we focus on that, I think we'll be okay. All right, now, off that subject, I have several new agents here, and I was not very happy that I did a class last week on the purchase agreement. And I only had 2 agents that showed up. One, the seasoned agent, one not. Now, I can't be doing classes and teaching new agents things when you don't show up. So I'm going to do a class this afternoon at 1 o'clock. How many new agents are going to show up today? Raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it? 4 new agents only.
Is it on the purchase agreement?
I'm not going to tell you what it is.
Oh,
I'm not telling you what it is right now. It's going to be a secret. So I got 4? Okay. We'll do it in the round table then. Downstairs.
Can we try for 5?
I'm sorry?
You got 4, can we try for 5?
I got 4, yeah. I got 4 new agents. Okay. Well, you know, I'll hold
I'm
it.
going to interrupt you for a second. Even though it may sound repetitive to you that the purchase agreement class is being done again, there are things that change. There are things that you may not know. You think you know but may not know. Your conversation in that roundtable session actually helps the new agents and it helps yourself, because then the paragraphs in that contract is now embedded in your mind that you can speak off the fly, off the top of your hoodoos, to explain that to your client, to be able to explain that contract to your client. I mean, if I said, you know, could somebody tell me what paragraph 12 is, or what paragraph 3G3 is? I mean, would any of you knew? Maybe the seasoned ones or the mentors would know off the top, but that is something you guys have to get used to. And the more you dig yourself into the contract, the better your conversation is going to flow with your clients. So just my 2 cents. Thank you.
Can I say something, Melrose?
Sure.
I've been doing real estate now 60 years.
Correct.
I still go to these classes and I still learn. Because you've got to keep on top of it. And sometimes you just got to rethink it.
Thank you.
because Melrose keeps changing the contract.
Not me, but the committee sometimes. Because, you know, on the state level, a lot of you who haven't gone to Sacramento once in your lifespan of doing a realtor as your career, you have no clue what goes behind the scenes to keep us in business, to keep our license alive in business. And they get the one committee that handles our paperwork, the forms, the Standard Forms Advisory Committee. They get over 150 comments from agents throughout the state as they use the contract. Sometimes something triggers. Well, why do we have this paragraph here? Why can't they put a comment here so it breaks, so when the buyer reads it, it makes a little more sense. Simple things like a comma, the big things of let's change this whole paragraph comes into play, and they sit and they review every single one of those. And sometimes you get what we call silent changes, like a comma or a paragraph setting. That silent changes. But when it changes the whole context of a paragraph, that is a big deal. And then you would see there is an update on the actual contract. And if you don't know what the update is, then you have to sit and read your purchase agreement. You have to sit and read your listing agreement. Right now, the committee is looking at changing the listing agreement to have the grid in the front. So you have the contingencies, just like the purchase agreement up front. They're working on that, they're looking at it. I'll find out more come next week. We have meetings in Monterey, and you know, we'll know more. But this is like a living document. All our paperwork is living documents. They change all the time. They're tweaked all the time. And you don't know
That's the
something.
problem, because we're taking it off the internet now, and they change it there, and when we download the contract to purchase or to list, it's changed, and we don't know that it changed.
Well, that's why we're here. We
Yeah.
bring the changes to you. We bring, right after the meetings, we bring whatever talking points I get or whatever changes. It's highlighted in red so we can point it out to you. So that's why we bring that information back to you ASAP. Right after our meetings come, you'll see Steve and myself will come up and
I believe
and
Frank
do the
also,
changes.
is Frank also on Sierra now?
No.
No, not yet? Okay. Good. Okay, well, that's good information, and as soon as Melrose gets back next week, after next week, then we'll have new information, including the broker agreement. That one also is being worked on. So that's why I haven't done anything yet with that class, but we will.
I hear that's changing.
That is changing. It is changing. And we will, I don't want to get anybody confused. So this afternoon, I have 4 new agents that are going to be in the class. Anybody else who wants to come, I've got room for at least 2, 3 more. And
Okay, all right.
if, I'm sorry?
1 o'clock?
It's at 1 o'clock, yeah. It's not going to be on the purchase agreement. I've already done the purchase agreement the last 2 weeks in a row. It's going to be kind of a session as to what we need and what you need, more than anything else. Because I don't want to bore anybody, but there's a lot to learn. There's all our disclosures, all the realty experts' disclosures, as well as disclosures that are mandatory. We need to go through all those to understand what those are about. We need to go through the listing agreement. But I don't want to get into the listing agreement until I hear from Melrose what's going to happen after next week. So there's a lot of things you need to know. And so little by little, we'll be working on it. Also, if you're a new agent and you don't have a mentor and you still need some help, call me. Just let me know. I can spend an hour of time with you. We can set up a date, and we can go over whatever you need. And we can sit there and talk. It doesn't have to be any particular thing. It's whatever you think you might need. So
Introduce Jonathan.
I'll let you. Go ahead.
You have the mic.
You got, no, go ahead, talk. You can talk very well.
We have, I just wanted to introduce, we have a new member to our family, Jonathan. We have Sajita here. She's been with us a couple weeks, but she's still waiting on her number, but she's visiting with us, and we appreciate that, checking us out. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Rosanna.
Rosanna.
Members, is there a recorded class or training on the purchase contract?
Is there a what?
I'm sure I'm sure there is. There's probably a webinar on the purchase agreement. There's probably webinars on the buyer representation agreement. You can sign up for those. The buyer representation agreement class, you could sign up for free through CAR website. And if you have not gone onto the website, go to smartzonecar.org. It's a subsite of CAR website. And there's a lot of information in that site for buyers. Buyers agents, listing agents, new agents. There's a lot. If you haven't visited that site, please do so. Okay?
I think the youth.org has that too.
They have a link to the Smart Zone?
Yeah. No, the education for the buyer's representation.
Yeah.
That's all under the base.org.
Yes.
It is there.
Yeah. And yeah, they used to put on classes as well.
Last car, I just signed up, there's a legal course coming up for an hour. It's always good because they have the attorneys on.
Yeah, Melrose and I listen to attorneys
Every time they have that, I.
every other Friday, we have what we call broker manager meeting on Zoom. It's from CAR, and it's about 2 hours. And so we sit there and listen to that, and then the attorneys come on from CAR, as well as brokers throughout the state and managers throughout the state. And they give us their input, what's happening in their areas and what's going on in their communities. So we share a lot of information and we get a lot of information. So we have to do that every other week, which is the best thing I think they've ever done.
COVID created that.
COVID created
That's
that, yes.
great. The CAR web emails. If you're getting emails from CAR, please don't dismiss them or put them in your junk pile or delete them. You've got to read them. CAR legal tools. Those are where you could find all the stuff coming up. And every one of you should be getting those emails. Okay?
Okay, with that being said, any buyers, wants, and needs this morning? Anybody have any new listings coming up? Anybody need anything? Jerry?
I've got a house in Hayward that's gonna come on the market in about, probably the end of February. It's gonna be just under 900,000. 3-bedroom, close to BART, actually you can walk to BART from it. It's been all rehabbed inside, all brand new kitchen, everything's been done, everything to code.
Is that your place? Your?
Yeah.
Good.
Myself. It was a rental for 40 years, and I put $150,000 into it last year.
Wow.
Completely redid it.
Okay, very good.
Anybody else?
Yes.
Probate sale, Livermore, 1664 square feet, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. It's got a huge shop in the back that I can't represent, but I was thinking
How
80.
big's the lot?
It's gotta be 10,000 maybe.
I have a buyer.
You have a buyer?
I have a buyer.
Okay, it's a complete
I have
fixer
cash.
upper.
Give me the information, I've got a cash buyer.
Okay, well, I think they wanna put it on, but I will ask because it's, I was there and I think the roof's leaking. It's like almost original. It's pretty,
I'll give you my card because I want you to.
no, absolutely, absolutely.
Does it need court approval?
Yeah, it's in, South Livermore.
Does it need court approval?
No.
Does not, okay. Good.
What's the price?
You know, we're tossing that around. They did have an appraisal because it's a probate thing. I think it's gonna be really interesting because it's in one of the most desirable parts of Livermore for schools. So, thank you. So I think, I'm hesitant to say because I don't think it's gonna finish where we start, just because of this huge shop that's already permitted in the back. And I think if somebody was smart, they'd get a contractor in there, put a bathroom and a little mini kitchen, and they're rolling, because it's all permitted and ready to go. It's just the house itself, like I'd almost bet the roof is leaking, which I'm real concerned after this weekend. I can't even imagine what, because he's got stains. And so, obviously we'll do all the property inspections and roof and get it all, so we know what we're dealing with. Maybe a month or so out or better because, the individuals that owned it or own it, have a tremendous amount of tools and old collector cars and things that they have to dispose of first, really. I know Jerry's going, I don't care, just give me, just let me write the offer and we'll be done.
Perfect for my buyer. All of that's perfect for my buyer.
Well, they got time, it's time. Because the problem is, I tried to
We
talk.
have time.
Well, I tried to talk to them, exactly. Well, I know, I keep looking at it, it's in my neighborhood, and I keep looking at it like this is a sleeper.
This is exciting. This
Yeah.
is why we share this information.
Yeah, but I have even recommended, because he really needs to probably sell with no rent back if possible, so that he can get moving to the next place. He's 80s-ish, and
The cash buyer, they can live there for the next 6 months if they want.
yeah. So that's what I had said to them. I said, I bet you there's somebody in my office who would be hop on this thing right away. So my instincts were right.
We'll talk.
All right. Well, let me call him.
So what's the
Never know.
price on it?
Right. I don't know. There is the same floor plan, and we'll know this pretty soon. I'm pretty connected with all the Livermore agents because I live out there. Natalie Swanson has one on right now, same square footage, same everything without the shop. And I think she had it listed at 1275, something like that. When I look at Fremont properties, I look at Livermore properties, and when you look at the solds, which is what we're always comping at, everything's going 100 to 200,000 over. But I try to explain to the sellers, listen, we have to say, okay, where's this one close at, right? And then we say, okay, we'll add the shop as a value, but now we have to look at the inspections and go, okay, we need a new roof. There's 20, 25. We need this, we need that to start to compare properly. So I'm always hesitant to say, it's always, I look at, I personally, and Melrose and check and correct me or any of the other more seasoned agents, when you put a price, especially in this kind of market, it's almost a test.
Good luck.
Yeah, it's almost a test. I mean, you think you know, but it's a test, and it's always that supply and demand. Right now, I think yesterday, we had something like 37 houses, detached houses on the market in Livermore. This thing's a hotcake. It is gonna be, because somebody's gonna go, this is no big deal, and I know a lot of the contractors out in the Livermore area that work with agents that just, they'll pick it up, flip it. I mean, it's just, it's an ideal property to do that because it's in such a desirable neighborhood with good schools. So it's hard for me to say where they're gonna price it until this other one goes pending. Then I have to do the calculations with them. Here's what we got, here's what we don't have, where do we think we could fall and be reasonable, and then you put the price on it and test the market. It may go way crazy, or it may come under, and you don't know until you hit the market.
Okay.
That's purely my take on it. I don't know if anybody else agrees, but that's how I do it.
Very good, I have to cut you off, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
Time constraints here. All right,
I don't know, no, I don't know.
Oh, I have a new listing after 3 months
That's
remodeled
fine. Okay,
for ready in the market today. 1,624 square foot, almost 8,000 square foot corner lot in Warwick Road. Cross street is elementary school. Asking price 1.86.
very
Welcome,
good.
bring your buyers.
It's gonna be on Super Tour.
We'll be on Super Tour.
For those who don't know what Super Tour is, come to the marketing meeting Thursday. Okay, Felix, my friend, thank you very much for coming up. Just hit the thing, you should be able to get it started. Felix is with Home Savvy Inspections, by the way. If you
Nobody
don't know.
can hear you, you better talk.
Can you hear me? Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, I don't need the microphone?
No.
Good. Anyhow, Felix with Savvy Home Inspections has been around for a long time. He's an excellent inspector. He keeps up with what's going on in the marketplace today and the laws. And so, Felix, you have a problem with that? Thank you.
You need somebody needs to sign in.
Oh, hey, Melrose,
Yeah.
what's the type in for this thing? Do you know?
What?
To get this password. Oh, she left us? Okay. She's coming up.
Okay.
So we'll get you started.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Nice program. Nice program. And thank you, Chuck, for inviting me to your meeting today. I have been in the business as of next month, 19 years, believe it or not.
That deserves a pass.
19 years. The beauty of it is I was not supposed to be where I am today. I was supposed to stay in tech until there was a little shift in the industry. I used to work for Cisco Systems, and things kind of went sideways when the bubble bursted in the industry. And then I had to make a new investment in myself and reinvent myself. And funny to say, I had bought my first home on my own. I had a home inspector, I guess Melrose, Chuck, you might know him, Tom Flanagan. Sure. Tom Flanagan, he was my inspector, and walking through the home, he was pointing things out, and I was answering it with him. And he said, why would you know all of this? And I said, well, my family run a construction company in New York. So I was kind of brought into the business, but did not want to be in the business because there's a lot of hard work. And then here I am today talking in front of you. So thank you for allowing me to be here. So the things I'm going to show you on the slide today is going to be important to you. And then other things are going to be important to your sellers or buyers when they go in to do remodels. So what happened is, the industry, and as code works, so when your inspectors walk around with you and talk to you about things not being conforming or don't meet standards, we really should not be using the word code, C-O-D-E. It's a four-letter word we are forbidden to use. Same as mold. We are not environmentalists, we are not supposed to be using that word either. So what we say is standards, jurisdiction, or current requirements. Black organic substance is another word for mold. So we use that a lot. So what happened was 2 years ago, and I'm going to use the word code for a minute, it takes a while to catch up. So when things happen, they happen like 2 years ago, and then they finally get approved, and it goes to Sacramento because it's all different states have to adopt it. And by the time it catches up to us, it's already 2 years into it. So today, we're going to show you what those 2 years of all the changes have occurred. One of the big changes that happened last year with the new developments, which caught up to residential, is anytime a home is being remodeled with the volume of $10,000 or more in the home, and again, we have to check with jurisdictional, and there it is there, it says 10,000, exceeds $10,000. The home has to have what's called a seismic shut-off gas valve. And let's see, is this going to allow me to flip?
No,
Or just,
scroll down, yeah.
okay. So this is the device, what it looks like. New developers already adapted to this several years already, but residential has not. So this is the first time. And anybody who wants these slides, by the way, I've already forwarded to Chuck, so if you want to send it out and anybody wants to review it, you have my permission to do that. So if you're in the conversation, and let's say, for instance, your buyers are coming in, they've already, walked around with the contractor and they're discussing, I want to move the kitchen over here, I want to move this bathroom over there, I want to add a bathroom if it's a 3-1. One of the things you might want to listen in the conversation, and I want you to be the smartest person in the room, is say, keep in mind that if you remodel and it goes up to 10,000 or more, this has to happen. Insurance companies are catching up to this too, because I'm also getting calls from insurance companies when they say, hey, by the way, we know that the seller exceeded this amount for a remodel. Would you verify if that's on? And usually what I'll do is I'll see it, I'll take a picture, and I'll send it back to the insurance company. The nice thing about this is why they're doing this is because of the word seismic. I had a neighbor, or not a neighbor, a friend of mine in Livermore who bought one of the, I think it's a shade company, and they have one, matter of fact, he has one that's square like the top one there. And the cool thing about that, a 3.5 earthquake will actually shut that gas off. So the nice thing is if you were on vacation, you were out of country, or at work, and we had an earthquake, your home's protected. That's why insurance companies are really starting to get excited about this adoption in the industry. So let's see.
Do you know how much it costs?
Yeah, so some of the devices, they run between, I believe, $250 to $300, and then you have labor.
Yeah, that's spicy.
Yeah, and then also, keep in mind also when and it has to be done by a licensed professional, so preferably a plumber, because they're licensed in both water and gas. And the other thing too is they have to get with the city, because they're going to modify the gas line, so PG&E has to be involved. Just to confirm what they're doing meets their standards as well as their requirement. But then once all that is done, and I couldn't give you a number, I'm sure it's going to be up there in the $600 to $700 for the whole thing. But if you think in longevity for your insurance, they do give you some kind of a discount. So that premium may come down a little bit. Don't quote me on it, but my buddy told me that's what happened to him. So it did come down a little bit. For resale value, so getting away from a development, so let's go to a residential, say the home is 1970, and you put one of these on, which you will if you increase the value of the house within the home, that's attractive to other buyers because they're already ahead of the game of having that on. So you can always say, as part of your marketing, when you're doing your listing, you could say, I don't know if you can, in your listing that it already has been required, has adopted to the new rule, and the seismic valve is already on.
Even though you're not remodeling?
I'm sorry?
You can do it even though you're not remodeling, right?
Yeah.
Anybody can.
Yes, absolutely. Anytime you want, you can do that. But because it was never enforced,
It's only enforced when it's.
now it's being enforced when you go above that $10,000 remodel.
Okay.
So if a person pulls permits,
Mhm.
are the cities looking, or is that something the homeowner has to be more cognitive.
So when you say when a homeowner is pulling permits, are they?
Say they did a bathroom or two, and they pulled their permit with the city. Is the city inspecting for these at all?
They're looking for it, but the question's gonna be if they're adding a bathroom or they're modifying the condition of the home. So in other words, if you're remodifying the existing bathroom, they're probably not looking for that. But if you're adding another bathroom,
Right.
they're gonna be looking for that.
So that $10,000 improvement applies to both?
Yeah.
What happens if there was an earthquake and it shut off? What do you do then? Does it come back on by
No, so the easy thing is you get this real high technical tool, it's called a screwdriver. You put it in, you put this little slot, and you just give it a little turn, and you'll see the bubble come back. So if you are familiar with a level, has a little bubble on it, that's what that has. Has a little bubble, and so when there's an earthquake or seismic, the bubble shifts. And when the bubble shifts, either side, it blocks. It has a little sensor, it sends a, like a dampener, so it goes in there, and where the gas is, it just goes, closes it. And that's it, no more gas going into the house. To release it, you just turn a little knob, and then the bubble just shifts again, and then the dampener just floats back up.
So that would mean if you had a gas furnace, you would have to get it restarted again.
Well, if you have a gas furnace, depending if it's an igniter, you wouldn't have to worry, but your water heater, yes.
Water heater, okay.
Yeah, the pilot would shut off, and then you have to have, and PG&E will come out and do that for you for free anyway.
And fireplace and that kind of thing.
And, well, if you have an igniter on a fireplace, or if it's a manual, not too bad. But I think the one that you, and cooktops, if they have a pilot, most of them have igniters, so you don't worry about it, but some of them have still pilots. Here's another one that they're starting to push. It's this SB 959, which is something we as inspectors were trying not to have that fall on our plate. What it is, so talking about seismic again, when you have a seismic activity in a home, so one of the things we look for is water heaters being strapped. Your home should be strapped, so that means seismic bolts, if you have a raised foundation. Well, now they're saying is what happens in the event that your windows or doors are jarred? How do you get out? Well, most people say, well, you can run to the garage and you pull that emergency latch and the door should come up. Well, they're trying to say, well, what if it's a small person that can't reach it and you don't have enough time to get to a ladder? Well, now the code says, now you need a garage that has a backup battery system. And I'll show you. Yeah, I came across a few of these out in the industry, and here they are. So here's one against the wall. There's one that's sitting above a garage door, and one attached to the garage motor lift. Mr. Reynolds.
My brand new garage door in the house in Hayward, after it's been on for several months now, all of a sudden it was going slower and slower up and down. I couldn't figure out what was wrong, and I assumed it was on battery at that point. So I did have it. I looked around and I noticed that the GFI had popped. As soon as I reset it, the garage door worked fine.
I would look into that. I had to think about that for a minute because they say that GFCIs are required in certain areas. I don't think that's one of them.
Well, Hayward required.
Okay, Hayward requires it, okay.
Everything I did in that house, Hayward passed.
Okay, well, if that's their recommendation and the requirements, then who am I to argue with them? But for what you just said, if it does trip, almost like when I see GFCIs behind a refrigerator.
Oh, this is for the garage door, period.
Oh, okay.
There's a plug outlet that there. And
Okay.
also that wiring was to the garage door.
Oh,
Yeah, I know.
yeah, that's different. But this is now starting to be being pushed through the Senate, and there are a lot of home inspectors. We're very limited because we do check for quite a few. We have like a 10-point checklist that we do with garage doors, and this is now starting to come into play where we have to look at the model, the voltage and then match that against the breaker to make sure that it qualifies to even be on there. You'd be surprised how many breakers are undersized versus the voltage coming in for that guy, even though it's 15 or 20 amp, it's supposed to be a 30. The same as an EV plug when you have an electronic car and you can plug it in. You got to have either a 30 or 40, and only 20s are the only ones I find. And when I take the panel apart, guess what's happening to the breaker? Yep, they're melting because they're too hot. Because once you plug it into that EV vehicle, that source is going back and trying to draw as much power out of it, and it just can't catch up. So whoever the installer was should be spanked and brought back and fix it.
So it has to have a what?
Why would it melt? Why wouldn't you just flip?
So usually when there's too much load coming in or out of it, there's a spring inside which causes it to trip, correct? Sometimes if they surge, they lock in, that tab doesn't know what to do. So it stays in place, and when that happens, it overheats.
So it's a defective breaker.
It's a defective installation of the device of the EEG plug in the wall, and the breaker should have been replaced. So what the person did was he ran the wiring through the panel and found a spot to put a breaker. So instead of putting a 30 amp, he threw a 20 amp in there.
Okay, it has to be a 30 amp, right?
Depending on the vehicle. So they're 30 or a 40, but usually 30s are being required.
Okay, I was
Yeah.
beyond that, because it
Just
depends
let-
on the charger.
On the charger itself.
Right.
So if Tesla comes in, they do everything for you. And you'll see them mounted on the walls.
I had the outlet put in for EV charging also,
Mhm.
in addition to a electric dryer,
If
2.5.
it's an outlet, it's 40 amp. If it's a Tesla charger, it's 50 amps.
Mhm. Yeah. And the Tesla folks will do that for you, I understand, for free. When you buy a Tesla and you recommend having one put in your car, in your garage, or if it's not a Tesla, so it's a standard electric vehicle, and you hire an electrician to come in, they have their own quick fix to put them in there, and they'll rewire everything and put in the proper breaker. So that hasn't been the case in some of our inspections.
Quick question on the battery, the backup battery. Can it be just any regular battery? You could buy just like $30, $40?
Well, the batteries, some of these are in-cell batteries, they're already inside, so when you plug in so you have your motor on a ceiling, which is already plugged in.
Right.
So that cell would be plugged into the motor itself, the wiring, because that's the whole principle of the backup.
So it doesn't need to be any sophisticated, it could be just like a computer UPS
Yeah,
battery.
yeah, so when you lose power to the house, that will still work.
Right.
Yeah, so that's the main reason. So in an emergency, you have a way to open the door versus being stuck in the house.
You also come in with the battery.
A question.
So you can put it in UPS.
So you know, my garage door, the system is a few years old, so it's older. And if I want to install this kind of system, how much it will cost to do that?
Yeah, that one, you're gonna have to speak to a above garage company, not advertising them. That's the only people I know off the top of my head, and they could probably give you some options. I have seen people buy them, like off of the big shopping mall in the air, Amazon. So they'll buy it from them, and then they'll call and install it like a contractor or somebody to come in and put it on. My problem with those installations is they're not up to the standards of how they should get put in. So you can get a handyman, you can get a contractor, and they'll figure it out with reading the instruction. But if you get a company that strictly deals with garage doors, they will be able to come out, assess where it can go, give you a quote and a timeline to put it in.
I just replaced mine, and I got bought it from Home Depot. The contractor to install it, $500.
500? Okay.
Is that what they're running around?
That's what I did.
Okay.
I bought a Chamberlain with battery,
Mhm.
and this Home Depot sent a guy and installed it.
Okay.
$500.
So it's only for one garage, right?
It is.
The one
Yes.
garage door open.
Uh-huh.
If you have 3 garage, so that means it's 1,500.
Yeah,
You don't have to put it in 3 though.
You need just one door to operate with a backup.
Just for the emergency. For emergency. You can get out.
Just as long as you can get
well,
out.
yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't need to have,
No.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
When are they required to start?
One
Wait a
car.
minute, I'm sorry, Jerry?
$5,000
For,
replacing a garage door today. I called all around everybody. And the best bid I could get was $5,000.
Wow.
It was sticker shock for me, because it used to be, you know, 1,500 or something.
yeah,
And roll-up garage door,
yeah, wow. Is that also removing the other one?
Yeah,
Okay,
it's just replacing it.
okay.
Nobody would do it for less.
Right.
Home Depot, Lowe's, garage door.
I hope it comes with gold bricks in it, because that seems pretty high.
I think cost, there was a little bit cheaper.
That's what it cost.
Yeah, that's-
And
wow.
Home Depot was like 6 months out.
Wow.
Yeah, it just was on.
Well, they
Oh,
saw
no.
your neighborhood and stuck it to you.
The question I was asking is, when are they requiring all this implemented?
To put it in the backup?
Yeah.
Not now, as of today. However, if you walk around your home inspector in the near future, he or she starts to say, when you see it in a report, when I put my information in reports, this is pretty much what I'm putting in the report. But I do put a disclosure in there saying, as of today, however, it is not required but recommended. But the minute we get the notification from Sacramento saying, now it's implemented, now it's per code, you have to put these in. So when do we put it in? Do we put it in on our own, or when we put in a new garage door? That, you know, we don't know what that verbiage looks like yet.
Okay,
So-
so the question I have is, if you inspected my home, I definitely don't have a GFCI underneath my sink. You would call it and say it's required in order for me to transfer.
Well, it's gonna be required as all wet areas need a GFCI. So as of 2020, 22, it now got adopted that now electrical plugs underneath the sink that houses the dishwasher and the garbage disposal
Yeah.
need a GFCI. And the reason why they're finding that to be a requirement is that you're right underneath a wet surface.
Right.
And what they found is any leaks that are coming off the water lines or the air gap from your dishwasher, any leak from that, is actually hitting the plug. And that water can transfer back in, causing a surge. So I'm getting a lot of pushbacks from contractors, homeowners, say, well, I just remodeled my house, it's, all brand new, a brand new kitchen. True. I think the contractor is probably unaware that happened. So I said, here's a simple fix. Just replace the plug.
Oh.
It's not brain surgery. It's just either they're going to force you to replace the plug underneath, or they're going to have you put a label on it to say that you have an arc breaker, same thing as a GFCI, in the electrical panel that covers that plug. So you have two places you can either replace or just know that somebody's going to call it out.
There's no arc breaker.
Yeah. So
Most of the homes have GFI in the kitchen, in the bathrooms, and in the garage.
exterior as well.
Yes,
And
sir.
now
Yes,
they're
exterior.
also forcing them to be, if you have any, and this is getting really ridiculous, but I see their point. If you have a sump pump underneath the house, you need a GFCI.
Yeah, right.
If you have a light source underneath the house, you need a GFCI, underneath. If you have an automatic fan in the attic, which many older homes do have, they never required a GFCI. Now they want them not hardwired anymore, but they want them to go into a, they wanted to go into a GFCI. So GFCIs are required to be, again, any wet area, including the exterior, garages, now underneath, and attic. And that is just to protect all of us from being a little bit shocked, which, a lot of people never understand the idea or the principle, and that's what a GFCI, a ground fault current interrupter. The interrupter part is what we really need. So if you are standing between power, so power as in your hair blower, and you decide to turn off your water at the same time, you are ground. Just keep that in mind. So if there was a short or a surge, you're ground. A GFCI was designed to be interrupted and shut off within less than 3 seconds. It just pops. The other problem is kitchens, and I get a lot of my interns or my trainees that walk around with me. When they go in the kitchen, they see the outlets, and they're not labeled with protected by a GFCI. So normally you'll get a receptacle to the left and right of the sink, and then way in the corner you'll see a GFCI. I always say, make sure you test those, that they pop to that one.
I see what you're
If they're not popping, you have to call them out that the left and right need GFCIs, even though there's one in the corner, past 33 inches from the rule of the sink, that's okay. But we need one next to the water device, as in bathrooms. Here's another one, jacuzzis need GFCIs. If you're putting one of those fancy commodes, we all know bidet, GFCI protected. And I can tell you how many I find that do not have it. So you're putting a body on a commode that it has power running through it. And there's water. So common sense say, let's protect the person sitting there, as in jacuzzi. We're filling a jacuzzi up, we got a jet running through it. We're putting a body in water that has power running around it.
How fast can you jump?
How far can you jump? So that pretty much covers the GFCI. There not a whole lot has changed other than underneath the sink. That definitely has changed. The next one that was right behind that is the water heaters. So we're all very familiar when you're doing your walkthrough, right? After you purchase or you're doing your listing, you're doing your visual. Question I always get from my agents is, hey, is the water heater strapped? And I would train them to say, or ask, is the water heater properly strapped? Because some of them are not.
You no longer say to the code.
Some of them. But there's the one that we just talked about. There's where a GFCI should go. And then we get down to the water heater. So often enough, you'll get a neighbor or a handyman or a relative to say, I can help you with the water heater over the weekend. And that's fine to save a few dollars, but if you're not current with the changes, you probably are going to install it wrong. They use the old plumber straps, and I'll show you what one of those. Those are forbidden. You can no longer use those. Or, on older models, they're putting on top of the water heater to the wall a bracket. So it's screwed into the wall, screwed into the tank, and it's only one. You can't do that either. The new seismic straps have to be 1 3/4 to 2 inches wide, and then you have to have them in certain locations of the tank. So it has to be 4 inches above the gas igniter, and then it also can come down 2 inches from the top. A lot of people put them to the very top, very bottom, or they like to stick them in the center, which does nothing for the water heater. And you cannot put a blanket over it. So here's an example.
Oh, I've seen many.
So you cannot use this anymore. This is wrong. This is wrong. This one's wrong. Wrong. That's right. So as you see how it circulates around the tank, think of it as a bear hug, holding that tank, because when the earth moves, you do not want, with the clay that's in this corner, this tank will hit the wall. And when it hits the wall, its movement is allowing the gas line, this gas line, that pipe starts to move, and then you have water lines, although they're flex, are pulling on the insert that are coming in and out of the wall. I went to Bakersfield a couple months ago with about roughly 400, 500 home inspectors from California. So, you know, we're all working for you guys. And so they had a big blimp hanger demonstrating all these different devices. And one of the coolest things We walked into a home that was earthquake ready. Yeah, it was really cool. It was like 800 square foot home. And they had several water heaters in different levels of perfection to okay, to poor, to oh my gosh, that's not gonna work. And when the home started moving and we were all in the home with it, when it hit 4 point, these water heaters were banging the wall, damaging the wall. We can actually see the water starting to come loose because it's pulling on the inserts. So it was a mess. And I try not to be an alarmist when I do my inspection, whether it's listing or for the purchaser. I always try to just educate them. The person who installed what he had good intentions, but now we need to step back. We need to look at what we need to do to make it safe for you. So I explained the proper strapping. Sometimes some inspectors are calling not to be strapped to the 2x4s, even though the 2x4s is the buffer behind so it prevents it from moving. But guess what? If the wall's moving, so is that. So a lot of guys are calling it out. I'm calling it out. So it's supposed to go directly to a stud in the wall. Not a stud on the outside of the wall because it's on sheetrock. Sheetrock can move too. So there's a lot of things that we have to be really careful because you talk about attorneys, one of our attorneys for our association always say, it's not what you said, but it's how you said it. And trust me, realtors will remember that. They will remind you exactly what you said on that day 4 years ago. And let's talk about these guys. How many of these have you seen out there?
Back to that previous one. Is this a new rule or it's been there for a while?
Which one?
The one with the strapping.
The strapping has been in existence for...
Okay, so I have this kind of strapping, the one...
Like this one here?
Yeah.
Just to the side? Yeah. Does it have a stud behind it to help it buff it?
Yes.
So this probably will give a little bit of minimum movement during an earthquake, but it should have been wrapped all the way around.
Felix, when you have a water heater in a closet, like, some of the older homes that were built like 30 years ago, they have a closet on the outside of their house, and the water heater's in there. It's not strapped, but it's there. Is that okay?
It's not strapped?
Well, I've seen some of them.
It should be.
They figured because it's in the closet and the door shut.
No, it is, the strapping is really for the intent of protecting not only just the water, but mostly the gas, because you're actually pulling on it. So if that's not strapped, it's going to be flapping everywhere. So even if it's on the outside, and I've seen those in metal cabinets that is somewhat detached from the house, like townhomes, you'll actually see a water heater in the outside, but it's part of the home, okay? That's even more dangerous to me because I'm also thinking about if there was an earthquake and that vessel is still operable, the carbon monoxide from that flue could come loose because it's within the home cavity. But if it's in a metal case or an exterior wall, then it should have been secured to the framing.
That water heater weighs a lot when it's full of water.
It weighs a lot, yeah.
A lot.
Yeah, and again, when we were in Bakersfield, we saw a demonstration when we went out into the boneyard in the back. Almost a semi-new water heater on a frame, gas is running through, hot water coming out, and all of a sudden a machine came and knocked it over, and it took off like a missile because of the pressure that was in the water heater. I never knew a water heater can do that. I didn't know that it could actually move on their own. I said, yeah, it's the pressure from all the hot water that's in there. Think about steam and gas when it explodes at the bottom, it takes off like a missile. So imagine yours that fell over. Who knows if it will actually do anything other than just stay there in one place, which is pretty dangerous.
But when the gas pipe breaks,
we got a problem.
and it can break with that heavy water.
So it's only going to break at the seam where it's threaded in. It'll snap right off, but you still have gas coming out of there too. Yeah, it will be ruptured.
What if it's an electric water heater?
So electric water heaters, like in mobile homes, condos, and townhomes, I find a lot of electric inside the home because they don't require a flue. There's no gas. So you're fine. People will say, well, can I still put things around it like, house goods? I prefer you didn't put any house goods. I prefer you didn't even put paint in there. Even though it's electric, you should really keep that free from any hazardous material. But some of these, so you can see that this is gas, that's gas. This one over here is gas, and this one is, and the next one I'm going to show you is also electric, but that one's gas. And some of them are designed to be on the inside, so this is a double wall flue. So what that means to us is that the carbon monoxide or the gases are going out to the house, but the whole section of the cavity is a double wall, and then what it does allows fresh air back in. So fresh air, bad air going in and out. These are allowed to be outside. A lot of people like to put these in cabinets. We prefer not to see them in cabinets. So because they are designed, here's the flue here, and you can see this one up here. The only thing we are interested for safety, how high is that? So think about that, a child running by and touching this. That's hot. It's extremely hot. So we have to measure from the sides to the front to the height to determine whether or not that's safe for anyone in the range of touching it. The other one is also gas line. So I took a picture of this one and I sent it to my senior inspector. We both agreed that was the wrong gas line. It should be a rigid line. These are not allowed to be on the outside. They're okay on the inside, but it's not weather protected. It should be gray or steel. So if you see some of those, ask your seller. If you see one that's been recently put in, the question would be, did you put it in, have somebody put it in with a permit? And was it approved and signed? Because I get homeowners that are so excited, and when they see me step on property, they go, hey, we just did our water heater, we did our furnace, here's the permit. And then I look at the last portion of it and go, it didn't come back. You didn't stamp it. And what does that mean to me? Well, that means it's incomplete. So I have to put that in my report because you showed it to me. So I take my camera and go, and she goes, why are you going to do that? You're going to ruin, you're going to kill the deal. We heard that a lot. I'm not here to kill the deal. I'm here to protect you. So call the person up who did this work and tell them to come back. Call the city because they probably did not want to wait around for the city inspector. It gives you that window of 9 to 5. And it's your job to sit there because that's what you're being paid for that client that you're trying to protect as well. So that's one. And then here are the electric. I do a lot of inspections in San Francisco. And some of the high-rise buildings now have their own water heater underneath the sink. One in a closet. One in a bathroom. Flipped me out when I saw that. I went, how many water heaters do you have? She goes, I have 5. She's got 2 bathrooms, she's got a laundry room, she's got a kitchen, and then she also has one for, I forgot what it was for another one, but it was 5 little ones, just like this. All electric, they're all electric, so it's all legal. So my thing is, now I have to look around and see what's near them to make sure that it's clear. Mostly you will see some underneath kitchens, tucked to the side, or hall closets, if there's one for the entire dwelling. So don't be surprised if you start seeing these out there. I don't know how many you'll see on this side of the bay, but I see this Tracy, Concord, San Francisco is where I'm starting to see these pop up.
Why Tracy?
I don't know if it was for, the design was for, instead of having a community water heater for a certain part of the building, I think they're breaking them down, so now you're starting to pay the bill just directly to utilities. Condominiums, mostly. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Most new constructions in Palo Alto and Berkeley require an electric heater.
Have you seen those?
my daughter.
Oh, okay. So here's the sore subject.
Where do you?
Smoke alarms. Smoke alarms. I get this question all the time, and all of you are smart than me. You're smarter than me because you see this all the time. However, the difference between one or another is the photoelectric and ionization. So the ionization is no longer required, or let me reframe. It's no longer acceptable in the industry because they do not go off when they're supposed to go off. Photoelectrics are the ones that are now more acceptable in the industry. And on top of that is now the 10-year warranty. You see that going around where you should buy those. Now, how do I know I have one? Well, it's easy. Just have somebody take it off the wall. You read the back and it says either photoelectric or ionization. Some of them may not even say it. I've seen some really small ones that they put up that don't even, it just says smoke detector. It does not detect smoke. Why? I'm taking you back to my seminar. So we went and got a big fish tank. We have all these different makers and models of smoke alarms. And we put in foam, like from the furniture. And the fireman that was there showing us the demonstration lit it. 2 went off, and everything else failed after, oh, I don't know, about 4 minutes. Not good. You want that smoke to go off, the alarm to go off as soon as possible. Why? We found that ionization devices that we all looked at failed because it says it's a smoke detector. It does not detect smoke. It only detects smoke when it's up on it. And that tank was pretty deep, and it should have went off as soon as possible, and it did not. So I try to explain when everybody paints their apartments or paints their home, and they took down all the smoke alarms, I always ask, can you show me where they are? Well, they're in a closet. I'd like to see them, please. So when I look at them, I try to explain to the seller, do not put these back. Go to Home Depot, buy the new ones that are required, not a 10-year warranty, put them in a room, make sure, and I'm going to show you exactly where they should be sitting and how many. So we all know one in every bedroom. We all know above the door frame. We all know hallways.
On the ceiling above the door frame?
Well, so that's a good question. If you have a vent, some vents are on the wall or on the ceiling, right where the door is. So now you are allowed between 12 inches. They're only going to give you a 12-inch buffer. You move over 12 inches from the door frame, and then you can put it on the ceiling or on the wall. If it's on the wall, and if the louvers are facing down, then you can put it on the ceiling. Most people face them up.
There's no louvers, just above the door. Can you put them there?
You could, depending on where, if you have a register. If you have no register.
Not in the wall, not the ceiling.
Okay, you could put them on the wall as well.
Above the door.
Right.
Okay.
As long as the vent is not right above that.
Right.
Yeah, okay. So we know each level, so if you have multiple levels in a home, some new developments have 3 floors, right? So we got the bottom, which has the bedroom, and then you walk out to the garage. Here's the kitchen, and here's all the bedrooms and laundry. You gotta have one on every floor. Carbon monoxide, you have to have them on every floor. So here's a little snapshot. Jerry, we were just talking about that. So there it is on the best place and the best place acceptable area. Where should we put them? So again, here we go again. On every floor, every location, bedroom. People like to put them in laundry rooms if they have a gas dryer. I have found a few in the kitchen, which you probably should not be putting them because we know it's going to go off a lot. So you probably don't want one in the kitchen. But some people will put a plug-in into the kitchen because they do have a gas range. That's okay, but keep in mind it probably is going to go off a lot too because it's sensing when you turn on your fumes, there's gas and there's that oxidation that goes in the air, which smells like rotten eggs, and that thing's going to go off. So, and the other thing I always put in my report, always have a distinguisher nearby. You get those little ABC ones at Home Depot, Lowe's, or Dale's Hardware. and keep them where you know they are. So I always try to show the client, you have a pantry, put one in the pantry. If you don't have one in the pantry, put it under the sink and have it tucked to the side with the nozzle facing the back. Don't turn it so the nozzle is facing your cabinet door. You don't want to keep hitting it.
You have a smoke detector, so you have a fire extinguisher on floor, 1, 2, 3, I can see 3.
I'm sorry?
Fire extinguisher, you have 3 of them, right?
Well, in this picture model, there's 3 of them there. So depending on what you have upstairs, some homes that I do have a movie room, which are really cool. And they have a big screen. They got a popcorn machine. They got all these games and the seating and a bar. So you got a lot going on in there. So if something was to happen, you would like to have a distinguisher nearby as well. So it doesn't hurt.
And grab a drink.
And grab a drink on your way out.
Do they put them in garages?
It's your choice. I don't call them out for garages, only because if you have both your water heater and furnace in the garage, you know, it's a good idea, it will go off, but it's in a garage. That's why you have a fire-rated wall, or supposedly have one, and the ceiling, to help protect. And the door is supposed to be a 20-minute rated door, yes. And the walls are usually 1 hour.
Do you recommend the one with the carbon monoxide and the smoke detector combined? So you can install
I was hoping that
one
nobody was going to ask me. So what happened, so what's been determined is that, how many of us have heard batteries chirp, right? And that's telling you that the battery is dying, so we need to replace it. But when it happens to a combo, some of them don't chirp because there's wiring is different for the 2 devices in that one device. So it takes longer for it to die, but if one side is not sending the powerful signal, so it's a 9 volt going over to the one side, it's really not doing its job. I don't personally like them. I prefer to see 1 in 1. Okay. I know a lot of people say, well, it's not appealing to see all these devices everywhere. So let's just put the one up there. And that's your prerogative. I just point out to my buyer to say, keep in mind, you should be, every year, when you remove your air filter, you set your clocks back, change your batteries. That should be routine. So that will probably help that, but...
The 10 years doesn't have battery anymore.
I'm sorry?
The 10 years.
And some of them don't even have batteries no more. Yeah.
What if it's hardwired? Do you have to
Some
change
hard
those
wires,
batteries?
I would, because if you lose power to your house, you want to have a battery backup.
Are you talking about putting the carbon monoxide detector on the ceiling also?
Yeah, so, right, so what they're requiring, and this is where it gets a little fuzzy for a lot of folks when they're putting the devices back. So if you walk into a home, let's just say that there's a wall heater, a gas heater in a closet, but then you have bedrooms following that, and we've seen that. We've seen gas heaters in the center of where the bedrooms are. So there's 2 bedrooms there and there's a front bedroom here. So everybody said, well, where am I going to put my carbon monoxide? Put it right over it. Never put it right over it. Put it on the ceiling and put it 12 inches away. Because when gas leaks, and it's been proven, gas only goes airborne for 9 to 10 minutes. And then the density of oxygen will drop the gas back down. That's why you see firemen sometimes when they enter a home, they crawl. Because they want to get to where the source is with their hoses. So, I always say if you're going to put a device in the hallway, let's identify what that looks like. Well, my gas, water heater, and furnace are in the garage. Okay, what does the kitchen have? What does the fireplace have? Is it gas fireplace? Well, it's an insert. In other words, it's a 0 clearance. I can't get to it. Okay, but you still have gas underneath when you pull the little panel down. So you have to think of where your gas is. There are some condos and townhomes that's all electric. But the appraisers, as you know, are saying, where are all these devices? Then it's a pick and choose where to put them. But when you have gas in the home, be really smart about where to go and put them. And when all else fails, you break the glass and you can call me and I will help you determine where they should go. And I do this with a lot of agents. They have their own inspectors, but sometimes they may not be able to get to them. And they'll shoot me an email that says, Felix, got a question. Here's the scenario of the house. What should I do? And I'll call them and say, here's my opinion. And that's the best I can do. Oh, speaking of smoke alarms and carbon monoxide, do not buy it. Let your clients buy them. Do not take the liability on that you bought it and God forbid something happened and it didn't go off. Because when all sources get together and say, who was responsible for buying it? You. And then it becomes a really long discussion. So be
There
careful.
was a lawsuit on that, so that's why it was recommended that we, the agents, do not supply those things to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I hear that all the time. I would call them out, and I had an agent in San Jose say, oh, I got a whole box in my trunk. I go, good, go start selling them on eBay because you should not be giving them to anybody. Get rid of them. Bad places. So as you can see, there's one way over here. Here's one. Let's keep the smoke away from the... And then there's another one that's 12 inches too far, and then this one was also more than 12 inches. And then, Jerry, here's that vent we were talking about.
Yeah.
So if you put one there, that's not really going to work. Unless you put a plastic scoop, I don't know if anybody's ever seen those. You put a plastic scoop, they're magnet, where it diverts the heat to come down. So that would be okay to do. And then, buying smoke alarm, I just explained to you that you should not do that. Refrain from purchasing any carbon monoxide.
But we do it for our own homes.
I'm sorry?
We do it for the homes we live in.
That's true.
Yeah.
But you're taking responsibility for it.
Well,
Who do you expect?
or, but we hire a contractor, it costs too much money.
Or you can get a handyman, somebody that can help you out with that. We covered this pretty much, kind of says everything. It's self-explanatory. Again, here we go. Here's another one on each level. Some people are putting them in bedrooms too. So go back to the carbon monoxide dual. I have seen people put dual in every bedroom. You know, again, I have to explain to them, it has pros and cons. So you have to be aware that it may or may not go up.
So on the carbon monoxide one, if you have a separate unit for that, years ago I heard or was told, because that's in my head, that you should put the carbon monoxide more to the lower part of the wall because of the gas being on, you know, it settles kind of down below. Do you still recommend that or no?
Again, I would assess the room or the space that, you know, wherever there was gas, but I prefer to have them on the ceiling high up because it goes airborne first.
Combo.
Yeah, so if you wait, you know, once the density brings it back down and it's a plug-in, it may be a little bit too late because it may have already infiltrated into a bedroom that somebody's sleeping at 2 o'clock in the morning. So you got to be really smart and careful. I do a lot of homes in Oakland and Hayward that have basements, unfinished basements. So again, regulation of let's put something underneath, as well as in bedrooms. I actually, in San Francisco, in some of the older homes, they were putting them in the attics. Not sure why, because there's really nothing in there but the little guys running around. So I don't know why, but they said, yeah, San Francisco said that we are required to put them in attics. So, okay, I guess it's a wake-up call for the rodents. And that is me.
Maybe they have a furnace there or something.
I'm sorry?
Maybe they have something up there in the attic.
They may have had something in the past, but every time I've poked my head in there and looked around, I just see insulation and all the framing, and I don't see where. There have been at times, some homes have, of course we know that there are, the newer homes have furnaces in the attic.
Right, that's what I'm
Okay?
saying, yeah.
But you still don't have to have one, and I've never come one with any of the developers ever have seen a smoke or carbon monoxide in that attic. Even though the homeowner would say, should I put a plug in somewhere in there? I said, well, there's really no plug up there to put one in. If you did, you had to run a new line. And you cannot unplug the furnace to fit your device in because there's only one plug. That's for your furnace. So, and it would probably go off a great deal when you're using the furnace because fumes do burn off once the furnace stops, right? You have the residue of that just smoldering around. And if it detects, oh, we have a breach, you know, you're sleeping, 3 o'clock in the morning, beep, 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 you know, it's going off, and it's like, well, that's redundant because we really don't need it up there. If they do their job, the developers, right? I'm gonna step to the side a minute here for the legal side of this. So we went to Sacramento last year and had asked if all the developers could do one big favor. Whenever they are putting in the furnaces, water heaters in an attic, so you can actually step up in an attic that's vaulted. The insulation that is being installed, fiberglass or blown-in wool, should be fire rated. Should be fire rated, and none of them are. The only thing now they're changing is they're putting a vapor barrier, which is aluminum, on the ceiling, but that's only for the insulation of the environment, so they're keeping the heat zone down. But that's not fire rated either because we tried. We took a piece in our seminar and we burned it, and we burned right through. We had fiberglass, we burned right through. Blown-in wool, we burned right through. There is nothing. The only thing the fire department brought to us in a bag was old, chopped up Levi jeans that they had literally destroyed into particles, compiled them in a composite to be like fiberglass, and then we shot it with fire and it would not light. But the cost, yeah, I got a bunch of Levi jeans too. The cost is just way out of reach for the industry to catch up to figure out a way, how can we improve not only the insulation but the safety, the fire and safety factor in an attic when there is a gas device in there. They haven't caught up with that yet. So I always try to explain to the buyers when they buy these beautiful brand new homes, and hey, I understand it's R19, R33 up there, and it's a great thing to have. And I said, well, that's for insulation. Oh no, we were told by the guy, you know, showing us the house that it was fire rated. No, you shouldn't be saying that. And so,
so when you have gas lines running through your attic from one end of the house to the, say the gas line is coming from the garage area, running through the attic to come down to the kitchen for the gas stove, what protection is running?
Well, usually the protection is the material of that steel pipe. Okay. And if it's done properly, and another one that we're seeing that my trainees are calling out when they go in the attic on some of the newer homes, and they're seeing a yellow thick pipe. So that's called a CSST. What that is, it's a corrugated metal pipe with an insulator and then the yellow blanket. That's like a double protection. And the only reason why that's now being used, A, steel is hard to find these days, and it's flexible. They can get it around the joists and get to that kitchen so they can go down behind the wall. Steel, I'm starting to see less and less steel in newer homes than I am now with the new CSST. And it's okay to use underneath the house. I see a lot of that too when remodels happen. I just have to make sure that they're not flopping on the floor where it can get wet. It needs to be elevated and strapped underneath the joint. So I hope that a lot of what we covered today has helped you be smarter than everybody in the room. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Like I said, my information is on the slide. Chuck can get you the slide. I know Melrose and Chuck for many years, and they're really kind enough to allow me to come and share some information. So hopefully that helped. Yes,
573-0367,
Yes, sir.
still.
Yes, that's my office, and it rolls right over to me.
Okay, good. So now I have your mobile on.
I have one question. Okay, do you recommend that underneath the space in between the house, in the foundation, put a water barrier in there, a barrier, a plastic barrier? Some people say that no, some people say yes. A barrier. A plastic, do you recommend it?
So we call that a neoprene barrier. So a neoprene or vest screen are two common